Okay, so thanks for giving me the floor, and sorry for just taking it, but I think it's going to be useful to also contribute to say something about what's going on in Switzerland. So, my name is Greta. I work for umverkehR. We're a small NGO in Switzerland, doing all sorts of projects directed to sustainable transport. Unfortunately, my slides are in German. I apologize for that. I'm happy to prepare them in English and provide them to the organizers afterwards. So we have a current campaign that's called Zug statt Flug, which means train instead of plane. And maybe just to tell you a little bit about the goals. So one of the main aims is to push for a plane ticket tax, so for a climate tax in Switzerland. Switzerland's one of the only countries left that has no plane ticket tax in Europe. We are also pushing for international measures to basically push for truth of cost in aviation, because so far, as we've heard, aviation doesn't really pay for the damages it causes, it doesn't really pay for the emissions it causes, for basically its contribution to climate change. So we want to push for a polluter pays system. At the same time, the campaign aims at really improving and strengthening climate-friendly alternatives. So that's mainly train services and notably night trains. So all in all, we want to push for a shift from planes to trains. What's also really important in the campaign, raising public awareness. People need to know the problem, they need to know the solutions, they need to stand behind the solutions so that we can move forward. So just something about the activities that we do. We launched a petition end of last year, basically calling for a plane ticket tax. It was called Ja zur Flugticketabgabe. We collected about 18,000 signatures until end of this summer and handed those signatures to Parliament in September, telling the people of Parliament, a lot of people in Switzerland actually approve of a plane ticket tax. And it was a good moment for us to do this because beginning of autumn, so in September, our Parliament was in session and the small chamber discussed the new law on CO2 and within that introducing a plane ticket tax and decided to introduce one. So that's good news. But now also the big chamber has to deal with this, and that's going to be probably in spring next year, so we still have a lot of work to do. We're actually having elections tomorrow, so we're going to see how the new parliament looks, and we have to keep pushing that this plane ticket tax will actually become a reality. Also including in our activities is our climate protection or climate guardian angels. You could already see them on the last slide. Basically with these pretty angels, we really tried to raise awareness in the public. So we went to the 1st of May march with them, we went to climate strikes with them, and we had a big national climate manifestation end of September, and we just tried to bring the message to the people and get them to realize the problem and think about the solutions. Also what we do is events about a topic. So we had a podium discussion in summer similar to what happened last night. That's on this side over there, the few people on the podium. We had some economic experts actually who talked about measures, price measures in aviation, and all of them said it's needed because without truth of cost, you have market failure, and that's not something actually we want in economics. We also had an expert from the aviation industry who also agreed that flying is too cheap and there needs to be price measures. We had a big one-day conference in September. We also had Kurt Bauer from ÖBB there and Bernhard from Bahn für alle. It was a very interesting day. We learned a lot of hard facts about aviation and climate protection, how these two things don't go really well together and how they need to work better together. And we also learned about the alternatives. We have planned for 2020 some more events, and then the focus will be mainly on climate-friendly alternatives to flying, so it will really be on train services and night trains. We are often confronted with critical questions in our campaign, so people often ask us, well, is flying really so bad for the climate. A plane ticket tax is antisocial, and are there actually good alternatives to flying? So what we did recently, we collected some of these important hard facts and launched two websites. So one of them is flugfacts.ch, it's the German version, and the other one is Aviation Vérité, it's the French version where you find these facts. They're focusing on the situation in Switzerland, but I think a lot of the facts can be translated to other European countries. Just one example from flugfacts.ch. So here we have a nice graph, or actually two nice graphs that show on the one side you see the top flying destinations from Switzerland, so from Geneva, Basel and Zurich. And on the other side you see the existing and no longer existing night train lines from Zurich. And what you can see pretty well, that is for some popular destinations like Berlin and Vienna, we still have a night train. For others, such as Paris, Barcelona, Amsterdam, they have disappeared. And so what has been already mentioned yesterday is that the situation is aviation has a lot of privileges, so they don't pay kerosene tax, they don't pay value-added tax, and there's no plane ticket tax or climate tax or whatever you want to call it. Whereas train services, they pay value-added tax for international travels a lot of time, they pay energy tax, and you have the track fee. So you have a distortion of the market basically, it's not a fair competition. Aviation or plane companies can offer very cheap prices, and this kind of also basically leads to more demand. And these cheap ticket prices are a big competition to the climate-friendly rail services. So this has been actually a major factor in a lot of the train lines or the night train lines disappearing, and that's why our campaign targets both aviation, both planes and trains, because we realized if you want to revive night trains, you have to do something about the true cost in aviation. It cannot be the situation that you have such cheap flights, otherwise everyone will be flying. Just a few things about night trains in or from Switzerland. As we've heard before from my colleague, who I don't see now from Switzerland, oh, here you are. Well, there are night trains in Switzerland. They're not run by SBB, that's correct. So far we have 6, that's to Hamburg, Berlin, Prague, Vienna, Budapest, Graz, Villach and Zagreb. So these are run in collaboration with ÖBB. I think it's also important to mention, or at least Kurt Bauer from ÖBB told us that SBB currently is one of the biggest collaborators or cooperative partner of ÖBB. So it's not that they're doing nothing, we also think they should be doing a lot more, but at least they're in cooperation with ÖBB. So that's, we think, still a good thing. So we still have some night trains from Switzerland. Obviously we want more and we need more. These are just a few technical things. So the trains are usually ready 10 to 20 minutes before departure. The depot in Zurich is very close by to the main station, but the main depot for maintenance is still in Austria, that's in Vienna and Graz. And unfortunately we have no car trains in Switzerland, so the next stations are in Lörrach in Germany or Feldkirch in Austria. And maybe an outlook, I don't think you mentioned this, but I'm sure you've heard it, that SBB in summer, among all this pressure, announced that they would look back into investing into the night train business, whereas before they always said, oh no, there's no business case, we're not doing anything. So actually this summer they said they're going to look back into it. They didn't say many very precise or concrete things, but they said it would be in collaboration with ÖBB, because as was mentioned before, Switzerland's a small country, it doesn't make sense if we're kind of trying to run night trains by ourselves. So also we're geographically located in the middle of Europe, so we're an important place to drive through or to have trains run through, but it definitely makes sense to do this in collaboration. So time horizon would be within the next 2 to 3 years. They need new rolling stock, so that's something they announced. And also you've heard from ÖBB yesterday, they want to do new lines to Brussels, Amsterdam, and they're investing in new material, but I'm sure Sven can give you better and more information on that. So our priorities, as you have seen from this graph, we think it would be really great to have connections to the west and the south again, because that's really what's lacking at the moment and what has existed before. Ooh, that's too quick. And yeah, we also think it's important to politically push for new investments in rolling stock and to really kind of make sure that what SBB announced in summer are not just nice words, but that there's a commitment and yeah, there's political pressure that they have to do this. So that's it from my part. I hope it didn't bore you. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask them now or send me an email. Thank you.
Yes,